Ames's Antics. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're well today because we have another crafty project to get stuck into. Now in this week's video we are going a little bit more arty and a bit more crafty in the sense that we are using air dry clay and paint or acrylic paint to make some really cool clay coasters. Now this is the first time I have used air dry clay, and I have had this packet of clay in the house since way before Christmas because I originally planned to make some clay Christmas ornaments with it, and alas I didn't end up doing that craft. I had lots of other different Christmas crafts that I did have a go at, and I will link them above if you do want some inspiration. I know it's a little bit early for Christmas, but I will link them above if you do want to check that out anyway. So I wanted an easy craft because first time using this clay, and DIY coasters seem to be quite popular, and I thought why not have a go, showcase two designs that I really liked and try and give you some inspiration or advice on maybe how to do an easy craft project. So if you would like to see how to make these DIY clay coasters, then let's get crafting. To make the clay coasters you are going to need some air dry clay, a rolling pin, a template which I will show you how to make in a moment, some form of cutting device, so I'm using craft knives here but you could even use a butter knife, the clay should be soft enough to cut through, some greaseproof paper for putting your newly made clay on, some acrylic paint, Mod Podge glue or sealant, and some felt. To make your coasters you are going to need a template of whatever size and shape you want them to be. So head onto the computer and on Word you can select shapes. I went for a hexagon, made it to the size I wanted, printed and then cut it out. Then you want to stick it onto a piece of card just to give it a bit more thickness and depth and a bit more security for when you're going to cut around it. I just stuck this on with some double-sided tape, but you could stick it onto the cardboard however you like and then cut this out again. So this is the air drying clay that I am choosing to use for this. It is the Das brand. Now you can get this on Amazon, and I think I picked mine up from The Works, which is incidentally one of my favourite shops because of all the crafty finds you can get in there and all the cool little books and things. But yeah, this is really cheap to buy on either Amazon or in The Works or whatever crafty shop that you have. And it is air drying clay, which means once you have moulded it you just leave it out for about 24 to 48 hours until it has fully hardened just in the normal air. There is different types of clay. I think there's polymer clay which you would put in the oven and that hardens and goes more like into a plastic than a clay, but this is like all natural clay base, and as it says it has been made in Italy as well. So let's get on to making the coasters with this lovely clay. So you just want to remove a small amount of the clay at a time and work in small batches because you run the risk of drying out the whole of the block of clay that you have if you don't use it all. So you want to make sure you just work in little batches to stop this happening, and then if you have clay left over it's not ruined for next projects. So just take a small amount and start kneading this a little bit just to make it a little bit more pliable, and then you want to grab your rolling pin and begin rolling this out as you would some pastry, just to get it to the depth or thickness that you want the clay to be. So keep going, it does get a little bit sticky but just keep going with it. And then you want to place your newly made template on top of that rolled out clay and begin cutting around it with your chosen knife. I'm using a craft knife, like I said, just for a bit more of a precise cut, and chase around all of that edge of the template to give you your coaster. Now you want to just peel back the remaining bit of the clay away from your coaster to prevent any knocks and bumps to the coaster itself, so peel that away, and then you've got your first coaster ready to dry. If there are any misshapes from it you just want to smooth and pat this down with your hands. Then place your newly made coasters somewhere safe and flat and allow them to dry for 24 to 48 hours or until they feel hard and have turned white. So here is all my clay coasters getting ready to dry. You can see some have got a little bit of imperfection, like there's a little bit of bumps, but I don't mind this. I think it adds to the nice rustic look of them and the homemade look. And some are a bit thicker and some are a bit thinner than others, but it doesn't matter. I think these are going to turn out fab, and this is the first one. I can already feel it hardening slightly. So now I've just got to leave these to fully harden, and then it'll be on to decorating them up. If you do have any clay left over, you just want to place it all back into its original packet and fold this down, making sure that it's really tightly packed in there and folded. You don't want any air getting to your clay because it will dry it out. And then you want to use a little bit of cling film to wrap around this, again just to prevent any air getting into the clay. So make sure this is wrapped around nice and snugly. And then once you have wrapped your package up in this cling film, you then want to place it into an airtight container for storage. Again, this will reduce the chance of any air getting to that clay, which you don't want. The coasters have all dried out now. This is day 2 of them drying. So it's taken 2 days, and it has been really warm, so we're having a bit of a heat wave. So it has taken about 2 days to dry, which I think isn't too bad. So now it's just time to paint these up and make them pretty. Before painting, you need to make sure you have prepped the coaster, so use some really fine grit sandpaper. I'm using 150 grit here, just to remove any lumps and bumps and make sure the surface is nice and smooth for that paint to go on. Don't forget to do the edges, do all over the coaster to make sure it is nice and smooth. Now do be careful because a lot of dust does come off this, so you probably will need to wear a dust mask and do it outside because there's better ventilation. For the first 2 layers of paint, I chose to use a white acrylic paint and just covered the whole coaster top to bottom, side to side in it using 2 coats. This just helps seal the clay and preps it for the bigger design that I had in mind. Now the clay does soak up the paint, so you do need to give these liberal coats. And then I just went over with another 2 coats of a pearly white just to give the coaster a nice little sheen. Now I only did this on the top, or the bit that I wanted the design to be, because there's no point, the bottom is going to be hidden, so don't waste your paint if you're going to use a nice sparkly one like this. So yeah, 2 coats on top of the coaster and on the sides just to help grab the rest of the paint that I want to put on. So this is the coasters after 2 coats of white and 2 coats of the pearly white, so it's got a nice little shimmer to it, and in the camera they do look a little bit more silvery, but they're more like a shimmery white in real life. But I like how they're turning out. Now I'm just going to leave these to dry overnight to tomorrow evening because I've got work tomorrow, so I won't be able to do it through the day, but I want to make sure these really do dry and harden, because for the designs I am thinking of doing on top of this pearly white, it's going to need some painter's tape, and I don't think that if these are not fully dry then they will pull the paint off, so we don't want that happening. But yes, that's the pearly white coasters drying. For the first design, I found that the painter's tape didn't work and was going to pull off the paint even after a day of drying, so I went and improvised and sketched out my design using a pencil and ruler. And as this is an Art Deco one, you need to make sure that your lines are straight and measured out. So I did halfway in from the top and bottom to make a line up the middle of the coaster, and then went out 2 centimeters from this, drawing a line and then bringing that down diagonally to that bottom point. I then repeated this step further down the coaster to give a few more diagonal lines coming out of the main body. To finish the top of the design, I just sketched on a diagonal connecting that middle line to the top line, so it was quite a geometric shape and looked very Art Deco-ish. So for the main design, I am using a really nice coppery gold colour, as you can see here, and then just painted over those pencil lines that I had just drawn. And as you can see, it is not as exact as what the pencil was, purely because of how I was painting it. There is another way to do this, I am sure, but this is how I did it for now. and I think the design turned out lovely. Now to finish it off, I also painted around the edges, and this really tied in the design together. Now it did need 2 coats on all of the design just to really make that gold pop. For the second design, which is the tropical one, I just again use a pencil to sketch out my design on the coaster, drawing a curved line from one corner to another and then drawing some lines off it. This is going to represent one of those tropical type palm leaves, but in the end I think it looks a little bit more like a feather, but it is still that nice tropical look. So I blended 3 different colours to get different shades of green and a bit more of a yellowy colour. So there's a green, there's a grey, it's dark, and a yellow, and just give this a good mix. Painted on the stem first and then added in the offshoots that are the leaves, and changing up the colour of this intermittently to give a really nice defined leaf look. And then for an added spot of colour, I just went in with that gold that I used on the first coaster and added this into the leaf as well. Not forgetting the sides, painting the sides so that all the designs tie in together and look more like a set, and it really fits in with the theme of this one. You want to let your paint fully dry and harden before putting on some sealer, and I'm using Mod Podge for my sealant / varnish, but you can use any other type of varnish or spray sealer, whatever you have to hand. You just want to apply thin coats to the top and sides of the coaster. I think I applied about 3 to 4 coats, allowing time in between for the coats to dry, and then just place 1 coat on the underneath because we're going to stick some felt on there to stop the coaster scratching any surfaces. Then you just want to allow them to dry as the bottle of Mod Podge states. And then to protect your coaster and the surfaces that it is going to be sat on, you just want to add an extra layer of protection with some felt. So draw around your coaster on a piece of felt with any type of marker that you have. Cut this out, and then we are going to stick this with some of that Mod Podge to apply a thick-ish layer of this, and then line up your edges to the coaster, sticking it on, allowing it to dry, and then your coasters are ready to go. But be mindful that Mod Podge does have a few weeks curing time, so always follow the directions there, and then you have your DIY clay coasters. There you have how to make your own DIY clay coasters using air dry clay. I think these have turned out lovely. I really do like the style of them, the hexagon shape. Now some are a bit uneven and they're not all symmetrical and exactly the same, but I think that adds to the uniqueness of them, which I do quite like. And the 2 designs I really like. However, I am favouring the tropical vibe one a little bit more, just because I think the Art Deco one just isn't straight enough, it isn't on point and precise that you need for it to be Art Deco. I do think that is partly down to the technique I use. I did try painter's tape to get them really precise lines, but it was just pulling up the base acrylic paint and it was bubbling the clay, so I don't know if there was some reaction going on or if it was just too sticky for the project. Using the paintbrush freehand I thought was the best option, although the paintbrush was thin. Adding the paint made it a bit thicker, so you did need a bit more precise paintbrush with that. So maybe a paint pen would work better to get that really straight geometric look for the Art Deco. But I do think it still turned out nice, and it has shown my creativity. And coasters are used to replacing things on them, so you're probably not going to see the full design anyway for half the time because it probably have a mug of tea on it, so, or a glass of Prosecco. Sometimes with projects they might not turn out how you want them to turn out, but it is all in that process of making them. There's something about actually doing it rather than the outcome that can be more beneficial, I think. But maybe that's just my way of thinking and maybe my way of doing things. I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you think in them comments below. Do you like either design? Which one would you go for? Or what design would you put on your coasters if you are going to give these a go? And if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you are not subscribed already, because there's a lot more other DIY and crafty videos to come up onto the channel. And they do range from clay coasters to a bit of sewing to a bit of beauty DIY and a bit of travel sprinkled in as well. So there is a little bit of everything, but do click that subscribe button to keep up with them antics. New video every Sunday morning for you to check out. And don't forget to check out the blog as well, links below, Ames's Antics, because there's always a ton more information over there for you to have a look at. And with that said, I will see you in next week's video, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and week, and happy crafting. Bye!